All right, so the first thing we're going to do is check your mic levels.
Okay.
So why don't you just say your name for me?
My name is Chad Ryan.
Okay. And how old you are?
I am 28 years old.
All right. Did you go to college?
I did. I went up to SUNY Canton for mortuary science.
So you have a bachelor's in that?
I have an associate's, which is
Okay.
acquired degree. They do have a bachelor's program. It's more management style. If you're gonna, I have a family business, so
Right.
it could have done it, but it wasn't required, and so I just started working.
Cool. Yeah, I hear you. And it's called mortuary
science.
Okay.
Basically funeral directing.
So your father is Ed Ryan?
Correct.
Okay. And he county legislator.
Yeah, he was in the county legislature for 32 years.
Wow.
And he represented at times was the 17th district. I believe it's called the 8th district now for the most part. Obviously, over 32 years they redraw those lines, but for the most part, Tip Hill, the west side, and then sometimes, the north side, but most of the mall area down there in the second ward. So.
Wow. Shoot, sorry, 1 second.
You're okay.
College.
I'm new at this too.
What you've been working. All right, so why don't we start? Why don't you tell me about your decision to go ahead and run for office?
Well, my decision came. I sat down with Pat Hogan and got talking about the district, and obviously from Tip Hill. My family moved to Tip Hill in 1880. My grandfather started the Nibsies pub over there in 1890, and so we've been on Tip Hill a very long time. My grandfather started the funeral home in 1938 on Whittier, and so my family has lived there for a long time. And so I live on Tip Hill still. I own my own house on Coleridge Ave. It's the house I grew up in. Bought it from my father. So I just plan on being in the area a long time. And politics, I guess I never really planned on going into it, but I really enjoy it, and just to be involved with it, and try to do the right thing. My interest in it is, prolonging the city, and its existence and its financial capacity. I mean, it is in trouble, as I'm sure you're aware of, and so I'd like to be part of, trying to get it on the right track, helping it find its identity. I mean, it used to be a manufacturing town that, can no longer manufacture. So where are we going? How are we going to get there? And then really just to kind of reinvigorate the city. I mean, the city, people are moving away, but we have all these great resources and services. I mean, if we can, get that point across to young families, that want to move into the city, the city could really go a great direction.
Cool. I was talking to Jake Barrett, who's one of the city
Yep.
councilors, about, what is it that a city councilor actually does. And
Yep.
he says a lot of it is just voting on budgets.
Yeah, well, they do, it depends, there's district councilors and then there's at-large. The district councilors deal with a lot of constituent services. Now, if you're at-large, you don't represent a certain district, you represent most of the city, so they will do all of the, they'll only do, budget and, kind of the, fiscal responsibilities and that kind of stuff. In a district council race, I'll get calls from the neighbors saying, geez, my neighbor's not mowing his lawn, and you get codes to go over there and say, hey, you gotta mow your lawn, or, bring your trash cans in. Or if there's a dangerous corner, like there's no stop sign here, we should really try to get a stop sign in there. And so you do a lot of stuff with that, and especially in a district race, it's very much constituent services. So knowing your constituents and citizens in the area and what they need, is very important. The obvious ones are, education, crime, and housing stock. Tip Hill's a great neighborhood. The west side's a great neighborhood. Down by the mall, not a ton of housing, but a very vibrant neighborhood. I mean, with the stuff going on at the Inner Harbor, and regardless of how you feel about the mall, the sales tax and, what was there before, it's really turned around. So it's a great district. There's going to be a lot going on, and the important things are going to be, a voice for the city. It's a go-between between you the citizens in the city government. And so it's it's one of those things where I grew up in the city. I went to school in the city. A lot of the families that I deal with at work live in the city. So it's I feel like I'm very close to understanding what the constituents would want.
Yeah, that's awesome. What I'm going to do real quick is change the batteries. So
am I not speaking long enough? Or am I
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm just going to change. These are just dead batteries. Perfect. And I was going to ask you, you're working right now?
I am working right now.
Okay.
I'm the technical term is funeral director.
Okay.
And working at a small funeral home that, it's a family-owned business. That's everything from meeting with families to mowing the lawn to making arrangements to, all the ins and outs from top to bottom. We handle it all there. So you kind of got to be versed well in everything, So
yeah.
It's a good job because every day is different, I mean, it keeps it exciting, and you're meeting with families and you're it sounds cliche, but you're helping them through a tough time, and that's what it's all about. It's just making it easier on them. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. What I was gonna ask, what's the name of it?
The Edward J. Ryan.
Okay.
And Son Funeral.
Got it. Yep. All right. Okay, so why don't you talk to me about what are the most important issues to you? What's the number one, the number two?
Well, I think number one's got to be crime. People feeling safe in their own district, and then education, and then housing stock, and I think they all kind of relate. The perception is that the city schools aren't good. That's just not true. I graduated from a city school. If you want to learn there, you can learn there. They have all the tools and resources at their disposal, and we really need to change the idea that it's not a good school, because if young families understand that, they'll move into the city, and so then they'll, because a lot of people's excuse is, I don't want to send my kids to the city schools. Well, you send your kids to the city schools, you move into the city, you buy a house, in a neighborhood, you start caring about the neighborhood, you go to the association meetings, you keep an eye out, all of a sudden there's 10 more people on the block that care about the neighborhood, the appearance of the neighborhood, and the quality of the neighborhood. They start, and it just kind of goes from there, and it's all related. So, housing stock goes up when your neighbor takes care of his house, and so it's, unfortunately, it's all related, and we just need to get the ball moving,
So why is there then such a bad perception of the Syracuse City Schools?
Well,
I mean, I can go on Facebook and
see,
people are just complaining.
Yeah.
These are mothers
Yeah.
that are complaining about what they hate. With some of the elementary schools and the middle schools.
Yeah. The elementary and middle schools are tough because it's an environment thing, and a lot of this comes down to structure at home. A lot of these kids, don't have a good structure. They don't go to bed on time, and they don't eat well, and so they come there and they're not, versed on how you should act and the importance of what the schooling is going to do. And so, there may be 2 bad kids out of 30 in a class, and they may take the attention of the teachers. Going there, if you want to learn, I'm telling you, you can learn. The teachers are there. They're more than willing to help. They're all more than willing to, stay after, and, really they want to help all the students. And so, a few bad apples can really change what the scene looks like.
But I'm going to interrupt because I think it's not just that, because I come from a family of teachers.
Okay.
A lot of teachers and the politicians and lawyers.
Yep.
And they're just as fed up, it seems.
They're handcuffed, I mean, they get in a situation where some of these kids don't want to be in school, and so they know they go there to hang out, and they know the teachers can't do anything, so they just go in there and they cause problems. And then with the way the city's going, the school budget and the amount of students they have, it's an uphill battle, and it can burn a teacher out very quickly. You get a lot of young teachers that want to do it, and they go in there and you're not teaching. It almost seems like you're babysitting, and so it's a balance between trying to help the best you can, and it all comes down to just if you could stress the point of the schooling, and even more so to the parents, because a lot of these teachers will, call home or send a note home or something, and they get a call from the family member, and they're defending the kid. If I got a note sent home, my father was certainly not defending me. So he said, "What are you doing wrong?" So it's a situation where they kind of got everything going against them, as you're aware, and so it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So what I've been asking everyone is, everyone has agreed with you that crime is the number one thing. They've all talked about education too.
Yeah.
So what can a city councilor, if you're elected, do? And what do you want to do about this?
With crime?
Yeah, with crime and then with education.
Well, with education, we can set the budget. Now, the school board has a tough task of, allocating that and deciding the direction of the schools. But, we just try to be, well informed on what they need and really get as many resources as we can to the city, because, just throwing money at it isn't the whole idea, but money helps with programs and, special, classes and all this stuff, and, teachers' assistants and more teachers. And so just trying to find as many resources for the district as we can. As far as the operation and direction of the, school board, that's up to them. Crime is tough, and the best way to do it is to go to these TNT meetings, the, Sun meetings, the Tip Hill has their own association, all these things. And you go to those meetings, and they always have a cop there, and the constituents in the area ask the cop, well, what happened with this? I saw that there was a cop, a police car there the other day, what happened? And he checks on that stuff to see, what were the crimes, were they resolved? And Tip Hill had a lot of burglaries last year. They finally caught the kids, and what happened with that, and so just being there and trying to help them. And, maybe you call the cops and say, hey, I got a call from my neighbor, this is going on, or, there's some strange activities at this house, could you just look into it, and things of that sort. And then the education of getting the whole group, we go back to, young people moving in and becoming, wanting to make the neighborhood better. Then you got 10 people, on a street keeping an eye out instead of one, because when you're by yourself trying to keep an eye on everything, it may be disheartening, and you may just, it may be too much. If there's 10 people and you got a group of you that are all trying to make the neighborhood better and keep an eye on one another, which is what's great about a lot of our neighborhoods. Everybody tries to help each other out and really keep an eye on things. And you don't want to bother kids walking down the street, but if you see someone going through a backyard or some suspicious activity, you call the police and just say, hey, just to give you a warning, there's a couple guys walking around a house. I know that these guys are at work, so I just wanted to let you know. So also, and the cops will tell you to do that. They say just keep an eye out. We can't be everywhere, so if we can, your eyes and ears, help us out best you can. And so it's really just about trying to just get an attitude of, putting it off and trying to stop it, as opposed to just, it's not bothering me, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay. So the other question I've asked them all was, do you think being young is a pro or a con when it comes to running?
Yeah, I think being young is a pro, and there's the obvious things of, when you get in there and see the the budget and the reports and start studying that stuff, you may not be as familiar with that if you weren't 40 years old and worked for the city for 20 years or something. But I think the idea of being young and being energetic and maybe not being jaded by the system and by the district and all this stuff, I think it's good. Now, all of us are going to come in wanting to get things done, wanting to be productive, wanting to do the best we can. We're not going to just go there and hang out just for a title. So, I think it's a pro.
Cool. That's all I got. So, if there's anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to say right now,
not really. Just I think whoever wins is going to do a good job. Like I just said, being young and wanting to get in there and do the right thing. When you're young, you're going to have this perception of, well, why is he doing it? Is he going to do a good job? Is he going to be able to handle it? Now, I haven't met Carney, but from what I've heard is he wants to do this, and you got to have that drive. I met Alex. It's, we're all going to want to get in there and do the best we can and try to do what's right by our constituents. So I'm excited for the opportunity to get in there and represent the people of Tip Hill and the west side and the north side.
Perfect. That's great.
Perfect.
Thanks, man.
All right, appreciate it.
The one last thing I got to do before you go is
Yeah.
I'm going to get a picture.
You're going to scare everybody.